I'm always digging through the new and trending and demos section on Steam, looking for that next game that's going to scratch my gaming itch, so to speak. A few days ago, I stumbled upon a name that made me do a double take. Moon Beast Productions. If that doesn't ring a bell, the names behind it might. Eric Schaefer, Paul Schenk, and Peter Hu, these are the guys who essentially gave us the blueprint for Diablo 1 and 2. Naturally, I downloaded the free demo immediately. I ended up spending about 4 hours in it. Not because I was trying to speedrun it, but because I wanted to see if their vision for a dynamic world actually held water. Hey everyone, Bronze Dragon here. Today we're breaking down Darkhaven. It's a dark fantasy isometric ARPG that feels like a love letter to the classics, but with some very modern, very experimental ideas about how an environment should behave. Right out of the gate, the aesthetic hit me. It was a very Path of Exile / Diablo 2 feel. Gritty, dark, and unapologetic. The graphical user interface is clean, and one thing I really appreciated was the ability to zoom the camera in and out quite significantly. Whether you like to be close to the carnage or have a tactical bird's eye view, it's got you covered. Now, because this is a demo, it's understandably limited. I only had access to the witch class, and the monster variety was capped at maybe a dozen or so models. But honestly, even with that limited pool, there was a nice diversity to the encounters. They didn't just feel like reskinned versions of the same mob. They had distinct behaviors that forced me to actually use the movement mechanics. The big idea, so to speak, in Darkhaven is the environment. The world is built on a voxel grid. In plain English, a lot of the environment is destructible, and the land itself can be reshaped. I spent a good chunk of my 4 hours just testing the limits of this. You can break down walls in dungeons to find hidden rooms or literal treasure buried under the dirt. You can even collect stone and build blocks to create your own semi-stairs so you can hop on them. I found myself using those blocks to reach parts of the dungeon that seemed inaccessible at first, which adds a totally different layer of strategy compared to your standard ARPG speedrun. You're not just looking for the exit, you're looking at the architecture for opportunities, and I got the real feeling that I was only scratching the surface of the possibilities. Now, for a bit of a reality check, on my machine, which isn't a top-of-the-line brand new machine, the terrain restructuring didn't exactly run like butter. It was a bit jittery when the land was shifting, especially in the necropolis area, which basically undergoes a full transformation when you go into it. But, and that's a big but, I could see exactly what they were trying to achieve. It's an ambitious system, and if they can iron out those performance kinks before the full release, it could be a game changer for how we interact with isometric worlds. If you're a Diablo 2 veteran, you're going to have a lot of aha moments here. The influence is everywhere, especially in the loot and character growth. The demo was raining loot, which I loved. I spent a significant amount of my time just comparing and contrasting stats to fine-tune the build I was going for. They brought back the mechanics that actually worked. Gem socketing and runes going into tattoo slots are front and center, allowing you to continually stack power onto your body and gear in a way that feels meaningful. It's the classic loop: kill, loot, compare, upgrade. It felt familiar in the best way possible. It isn't trying to reinvent the wheel with loot, it's trying to give you the high quality wheel we all remember, but with better tires, so to speak. Just one more dungeon run before bed to get that next better piece of armor. You know how it goes if you've played these games. One thing that kept the 4 hours from feeling repetitive was the randomization. The dungeons and zones are procedurally generated, but they use ecological rules, so the biomes actually make sense. But my favorite part, the random boss type mobs. They're just They're just out there. You'll be wandering through a zone and suddenly run into a named monster that is way more than you bargained for. It keeps the tension high because you can't just zone out and click. You have to stay engaged or go down trying. Between the witch class skills, which include some really cool shadow and bone-based magic, and the verticality of jumping and climbing, the combat feels more active than your typical stat checker. Overall, I had a really good time with this one. It felt like a real demo, a fleshed out look at what the developers are actually trying to build here, rather than just a 10-minute teaser. If you liked Diablo 2, or if you've been looking for an ARPG that actually lets you mess with the environment, there's no reason not to try this. The demo is free on Steam for everyone right now. Just as a heads up for those who follow development cycles though, Moonbeast does have a Kickstarter running to help fund the push into early access. Last I checked, they were about halfway to their goal with about a month to go. I don't get anything out of this, I just think it's a project worth watching if you're a fan of the genre. Go download the demo, see how it runs on your rig, and if it clicks with you, give it a wish list. That helps the devs more than almost anything else on Steam. I'm going to leave you with some more gameplay of the Witch in action, and me biting off a little more than I could chew. It was a nail biter for sure. As always, I'm Bronze Dragon, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one.